All right, let's talk Texas A&M Aggies. Obviously, Coach Mike Elko has come in and done a lot of really nice things, but it looks like his biggest move may be taking effect for Texas A&M. Great sign for the Aggies. I'm Nick Rudman, and this is Saturday Morning Inspection. All right, Mike Elko has come in and done a really nice job, especially when you look at the recruiting department, outstanding in terms of how he's built his team. You look at the transfer portal, pretty solid job there as well. But the most important element of Elko, bringing in Mike Elko to be the new head coach, was the implementation of a new culture, the opposite of Jimbo Fisher. And it looks like that strategy is paying off. Elko's doing a great job on that front. Let's pull up this latest report, then we can talk about it more on the other side. This is courtesy of Aggies Wire. This past week at SEC Media Days in Dallas, Texas A&M junior offensive lineman Trey Zune III praised the impact of head coach Mike Elko and his staff during the brief stint in College Station thus far. For this season, the accountability has really been a big change for us. For this whole past semester, we had many different programs to make sure people were held accountable. People were where they needed to be and did what they needed to do, Zune explained. We had a system where we were grouped into teams, and if you missed or were late to something, it would be a ding for your team. If you had the most amount of dings at the end of the week, you had an extra workout that was kind of a punishment workout. It was a way to get people motivated to hold each other and themselves accountable. Look, I think this is a great sign for Texas A&M and a great move by Coach Elko. It's obvious Texas A&M is a very talented football team. Reshaping that entire culture, getting everybody in the right direction is the smart move to make, and it looks like it's working. I'm curious what your thoughts are on this, Mize, but first, Texas A&M fans in the comment section below, Zune, offensive lineman. So we're going to ask you about offensive lineman. Who is your favorite Aggies offensive lineman of all time? A couple interesting names could be at the top of the list, but you can only pick one. Give us your favorite Texas A&M offensive lineman and put them in the comment section below. But Mize, what are your thoughts on what Mike Elko is doing here for Texas A&M?
Yeah, Nick, I think it's interesting, and I think Elko's doing a really great job. But the first thing that comes to mind is when you hear about these new systems come into place, and Zune alludes to now people are doing this and this, it makes you think that it might have been a little bit of a problem beforehand. Because, under Jimbo Fisher, he was all about getting, the big flashy recruits, the top 5 stars. We've talked about this multiple times, more of that collecting of talent, as you call it, versus building a team. And that's what Jimbo Fisher did. He collected the talent. And I think he's probably a little bit more biased towards that talent. People probably got away with, missing meetings from time to time, doing things of that nature. But now with this new system at Texas A&M, I think Coach Elko, I think he's ahead of the curve. He thinks he's behind the curve, but I think he's ahead of the curve. I think he's doing a really great job and really instituting stuff in a great way. I say he thinks he's behind the curve because he also had a speaking engagement of his own this week. He talked about coming in as a new head coach. He's talking to a bunch of high school coaches as well. And he said, coming in, you're already 2 years behind on that 2024 class, recruiting, all of those things. You as a coach, as a new staff, you're 2 years behind everyone else. You're already a year behind for 2025, and you're basically on even ground for that 2026 class as far as when he came in to Texas A&M. But he says that, and we see what Texas A&M has been able to do so far. This 2025 class that they're already started recruiting, number 7 in the country. I think that's pretty good. You look at, the 2024 class, they're like in the mid-teens, like 16 to 19, depending on where you see. But they're the number 4 transfer class in the country. So I think they're doing pretty dang good. I think they're ahead of things. I don't think they're behind on things. I think Coach Elko, with all of these things he's implemented, he's done such a great job for the Aggies. I expect to see them really blow up in the next few years, and we're going to see a team that's a sleeper in the SEC.
It's one of those things with Texas A&M. They were always such, at least over the last half decade or so, such a disappointment in terms of the product on the field versus the talent level. And a lot of people want to blame Jimbo Fisher and his coaching staff for their strategy and scheme, and some of it is probably apt, right? Some of it is probably deserving. But the reality is a lot of it, I think darn near 90% of it plus, was due to the culture. If you look at the talent level that Texas A&M Aggies brought in, they should have won a lot more games regardless of scheme, right? They should have been able to run the wishbone on offense and win a lot more than they did. If you look at their recruiting classes in 2020, they had a top 8 class. In 2021, they had a top 8 class. In 2022, they had the best class in the country. And in 2023, they were down to the 15th best class in the country. So again, you had 4 top 15 classes, 1 number 1 overall, and 2 top 8 classes, right? With those results right there, you should be a top 10 program easily, right? You should be winning 9, 10, 11 games. A down year should be 8 wins, right? Every single year on talent alone, regardless of coaching. And of course, if you look at the Aggies results starting in 2021, it's a lot of disappointment. It's 8-4 in 2021. In 2022, it's 5-7. Last year, it's 7-6, right? That's staggering when you look at those recruiting rankings. Again, 1 number 1 overall, 2 top 8s, and a top 15. And I look at those results, and that looks like a program that maybe gets a top 30 class once every 3 or 4 years, right? Those are Fresno State kind of results, to be honest. Those are University of Kentucky kind of results, right? A program that recruits good once every 10 years, right? So again, the problem wasn't the talent, the problem wasn't recruiting, and I would argue the problem necessarily wasn't even the scheme at times. The problem was the culture. The problem was holding these young players accountable. The problem wasn't getting everybody heading on the same page in the right direction. And Mike Elko's different strategies and moves, and this, what Zune said here, this is one of them. Trust me, there's a lot more he's doing to fix the culture, to fix the program. This is why Elko was successful at other programs. This is why he was successful at Duke, right? He was able to take a team that wasn't as talented, wasn't very talented, and give them a lot of success because he built a strong culture. He got everybody on board, everybody on the same page, and he's implementing the exact same thing here with Texas A&M. And it will take a few years, right? It's not going to happen overnight. 2024, it's going to be mixed results. 2025 will be a little bit better. But by 2026, 2027 comes around, if Texas A&M keeps up these strong recruiting classes, which they should, this will be a top program, not a top 25 program, but a top 10 SEC contending program, college football playoff quality program, year in and year out, and starting with Mike Elko, laying the foundation with changing the culture.